Welcome to another episode of the Peak Potential Success Show. My name is Fong, I'm an entrepreneur, business strategist, real estate investor, speaker, and also best-selling author. And every single day, I help others unlock the potentials and guide them to succeed. Today on the show, we have an amazing guest. In fact, this person has been popping up all over my social media feed, all over my social media platforms, and this guy is absolutely amazing. On top of that, the past few people I've been interviewing has been telling me to reach out to this person as well. And so I did. And therefore, I'm very, very excited to have him here. He is a person that does so many great things. He's an entrepreneur. And at such a young age, he's already known to be the next tycoon. In February 2022, he founded his very first company. And just mere months later, in May, he was inducted into the Texas Business Hall of Fame Future Legends Award. So that's absolutely amazing. He is a person who loves helping other young adults reach their entrepreneurial dreams and their business dreams. So please welcome award winner, podcast host, founder and CEO of WGM Companies and Premier Outdoor Movies of Texas, Mr. Wade McCRORY.
Thank you.
Hey, welcome to the show and thanks for being here.
I'm excited. Love doing it.
So first of all, let's get through your story. How did you get to become the labeled next tycoon status you have right now?
So I'll do a long story short because I could go back forever. But back in I'd probably say December of last year, 2021. We just kind of got out of the whole COVID thing, and I felt lost as a person, just being in school and it just all being so crazy. I heard about this phenomenal thing called real estate, and my dad had been in it my entire life. And so I kind of knew a little bit about it. And I ended up going to a real estate school in Nevada, and I'm from Texas. And so I went for 6 weeks, and I ended up meeting a lady there, and she was from Florida, and we kind of stayed in touch, whatever else. And she invited me to this event in March of this year. And it was to go to one of JT Fox's events. And my initial thought, whenever she sent me the information, she was like, hey, I'll be here. It'd be great to catch back up. But you should come for the weekend. And I was like, okay, whatever. This guy's probably a total joke. Is my initial thought. I just thought of him as one of those Instagram ad guys. It's like, buy my book, and ended up going, and I met a wonderful people, some amazing people. And it was not that at all. He's sparked that light that I have kept dimmed down in the background for so long. And just finding that fire and that light in myself, which was just as simple as bringing a smile to somebody's face. And that's why I initially launched the real estate company in February. I didn't know why I did it. I just thought it'd be a good way to make some money. And it turned out that the people we were helping, it wasn't the check at the end of the day that brought me the smile. It was seeing the sigh of relief on their end, because we worked with a lot of distressed people. They were all tax delinquencies, pre-foreclosures, stuff like that. And so they were just very distressed people. And it was at the title company signing the papers just to be able to see them look. I mean, you could just see the relief. Mm-hmm. And that's when I realized, after meeting JT in March, that that's what I was going after. It was just to see the smile on somebody else's face, because on most of those properties, when we got it from them, we didn't make any money. It cost us money to do it, right? Yeah. So it didn't, just kind of kept going from there. And that's where WGM Companies came from. And then that's where Premier Outdoor Movies of Texas came from, was just that fire inside of me and even my team around me. We're all going after the same thing, and it's just to bring a smile to somebody's face. And that's why if you look at any of the companies that we have, or that I have, and lead with my team, is every single one of them is centered around bringing joy to others. And that's kind of where we started, was me realizing that's what I was going after, and finding all the different ways I could apply that concept to something.
That's absolutely amazing. And you're in your 20s right now, right?
Yeah, so I just turned 20 in February of this year.
Oh, wow, just turned 20. So you were already pursuing this in your teens.
Yeah, so I actually, my goal was to start my first company before I turned 20. And I started it. I got the paperwork back from the state on 2 days before my birthday. So on the 10th of February, I got the paperwork that said, you're official. And I was like, hey, I did it. In fact, I did it while I was 19. So,
You
but
made your goal.
oh, major goal. Yeah. And that all kind of, I had other little side businesses, like just to keep myself busy.
Mhm.
Like in middle school, I at my dad's ranch, I used to have this massive garden and I grew like 3,000 square feet of fruit and vegetables.
Oh, wow.
It was huge. And I would take the fruit and vegetables, especially like I grew cucumbers, and I would take the cucumbers and I make homemade pickles, and I go up to the farmer's market on Saturdays
Mhm.
and I would sell them.
Wow.
And like I had like a rewards plan. Like I had like people had punch cards, and after they bought 10 cans, they got their 11th for free. And it was just, business has always been rooted like in my heart. I just like love every bit of it. I used to have like homemade beef jerky that I would sell all year round on Facebook.
Mhm.
Yeah. So the first official company was when I was 19.
So entrepreneurship has never been in doubt. It's always going to be the answer for your career and what you're going to be doing in the future.
Oh yeah, 100%. And when I got into college and I was like going through and picking my major, nothing fulfilled what I was trying to find because there is no degree in entrepreneurship.
Mhm.
And I was like, I knew when I signed up, I wanted to do something with like owning a business. And so I just picked finance and then got into finance and was like, this isn't what I was trying to find at all. So then I went into business management and I changed my major a year in. It wasn't crazy. Like I hadn't even started my finance classes really yet, but that's when I realized, yeah, there isn't a degree for what I'm trying to do. So I just kind of got to take what I have and run with it.
Mhm. So how was school life for you? Because I'm assuming that not all 19-year-olds or teens are busy growing vegetables and selling and coming up with business plans, right? A lot of them are probably thinking about other things, having fun. Was it tough for you to navigate through that pressure?
Mm. No, not really. I mean, when I first got to school, it was like people around me now, right? People older than I am, my parents, people in that generation, which my parents know I'm going to do whatever I want to do. Like they know that like if I'm going to go start another company, I'm going to do it. They've kind of realized that. And so when I told them that was one of my goals, like just get through school, just go to school, get through it, whatever else. Well, I got to school and because they wanted me to have that experience, right? Like go to college, have fun. I tried it. It was fun in the moment, but after, so I was like, well, what do you do now? Right? Like, what do you do the other 6 days of the week? Right? Go to school, go home, go to school, go home.
Mhm.
And it just like, I never found fulfillment in that. I loved learning, but I felt like the knowledge I was gaining wasn't what I needed. Because was it beneficial? Yes. But did it fulfill any part of me? No.
Mhm.
So that's when I just committed to opening the company. I was still in school at the time. Then we grew extremely fast.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to do something unless I know I can give my 100%. That's just how I am. And so could I still be in school right now? Yes. But I decided to take a little bit of time off of school. And I was over a year. I was like a year and a half ahead. So I've got some time to kind of draw out and wait it out a little bit. And that's what I decided to do because there's no way because I'm going to put my 100 into my companies is what
Mhm.
that's anybody would do that. But school, like I said, I enjoy learning. And so if I'm in school, I want to be able to give that 100% if I'm in it.
Mhm.
And so right now I'm just taking a break, being around all the other influences. Like I live with other guys in college. Like that was the first part of the real estate companies. I bought this house last year and I rented out it's a 4-bedroom. I rented out 3 of the rooms and I lived in one. So they paid the mortgage and all the bills and I live for free. That's what I realized. I love real estate. This is like phenomenal. Um, and so I still live with them. Like 3 of my roommates are still in college, go to class every day.
Yeah.
Like school just started back up a few weeks ago. and they'll go out and stuff. And I have found I have found what I just love. And it's easy for me to be like, no, y'all go have fun. I'll meet you for dinner later or tomorrow. And it's not a,
do you find yourself trying to convince or show other people within your peers like, hey, this is the way to go? I mean, look at me, kind of thing.
yeah. And they don't really like it, to be honest with you. That's when I kind of realized like this life is my life, right? And one day it'll come back, and I know for a fact, right? Like, and they've even told me this. They know for a fact later down the road they're gonna wish they did, but right now it's just not their thing. And I've tried. Like last week, actually a week from today, was my first speech, and I went and gave it to a school district, to a high school, and it was 600 students, and I spoke to all of them. And you would be shocked at the amount of engagement we got after. I mean, I probably got 100 messages after I left, and I'm still talking to most of them. Like, they are so engaged and curious, and like they just want information.
Yeah.
College is like, they've made it. Like, they're good where they're at. They're having fun. Like, they realize that, in 2 years, like, they get out of school, life starts.
You got to figure it out.
And, the college is going to give them a job. So it's just not their thing. But yeah, it's almost an everyday thing. I'm like, are you sure you don't want this? Like, it doesn't have to be what I do, but like, there's got to be something that you want to do, like right now. And they're like, well, I mean, I've got 3 assignments due tonight. And I was like,
so do you.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, you should see my email list. Like, I have like 80 emails to respond to. That's like 6 assignments. And they're like, well, no, it's just not right now. And it's like, okay.
Because like, I would assume that a lot of students will, you know what, I need to focus on my studies. When I'm done my studies, then I'll focus on real world business stuff, right? But you're doing both at the same time.
Yeah. And I would still say I'm in school to a point, right? Because I have coaches, and their curriculum is 10 times harder than what mine was in college. Let me tell you, it is so just mind consuming, and not really time consuming. It's quick stuff, but it's stuff that you sit with, and it's like, okay, hold on. How do I do that? Like, I know I need to do it, but how do I do it? And they tell you, and then you realize this isn't like a 6-hour launch. This is like a 3-week launch. And then you're working on it constantly. And so it takes up mental space. So it's difficult, but I enjoy the challenge, right? I mean, it's something I love to do. So I always, when I get up in the morning, I'm ready to go. And it's hard for me to go to sleep, like, because I don't want to stop. Like, I'll open something at 9 o'clock, and it's like, I try to be in bed by 9:30 or 10.
Wow.
And then I'll be there thinking about it. I'm like, I should have just done it, because now I'm sitting here and I can't go to sleep. Like,
right. No, and knowing some of the coaches that you have, when they give you 100% as a mark, it means you made a lot of money, which is probably a lot more rewarding, right? But then on the flip side, when they're telling you did something wrong, they don't sugarcoat it. They really
no. Yeah, there is no crossing the line point there. I mean, it is like, you get it fully every single time, and it's that's mind consuming. Like, it is, because nobody wants to screw something up. But what I realized is, through all of this, I mean, it's every day. I mess something up every day, and I've gotten used to it. But now I appreciate it. And I've always heard people say, like, you learn from your failures and stuff like that. And I was always like, yeah, but I don't want to fail. Like, I can just do it right the first time. It saves everybody time, everything else. But what I ended up realizing was, when I failed and I corrected it, I then began to see all of the different things that could possibly go wrong, that didn't go wrong. And you gain a better sense and knowledge of whatever it is, whatever topic it is, right? And so I'm not saying I now look to fail when I do something the first time, but if I do, it's kind of like, okay, we're good. like, we're fine, we're going to correct it. And then at the end of it, I do have a better understanding of the whole situation. So it doesn't bother me anymore, for sure.
Right.
And that criticism it's tough, but it's good. It's good.
Of course. We were kind of talking about this before we started recording, was the fact that if anybody out there wants to correct the profs, do it like you're doing it right now and proving your profs wrong.
Oh yeah. No, exactly.
So much so that they're getting you to teach the class now, right?
Yes. Yeah. They I mean, Doug, I was telling you before, I mean, this last semester, I had a supply chain management teacher. It was talking about, different stations and like bringing in product and producing it and then sending it out. And we had to do a project where we had to like create this plan, like not a business plan, but it was like a distribution plan. And we were already under development of this movie concept, right? The company we just launched back in June. And I went to the professor and I was like, listen, like I'm already doing this. Like, I'm not going to create a whole nother plan. And they're like, well, we need to see you understand it. And I was like, if I give you a piece of paper that shows you how I'm operating my business, that shows you that I understand the process. And they were like, well, I mean, if it doesn't voice it exactly, like, we're not going to pass you on it. And I was like, okay, fine. Like, I'll just show it to you then. And so I showed it to them and they were like, how did you do this? And I'm like, it's common sense. Like, I mean, it's just like, and they were blown away at the time. And then it ended up turning into them being like, do you mind like speaking to the class about it? And I was like, I mean, I guess like yeah, I can. And so I did. And then all of a sudden, like test scores went up. And then they were like, what in the world? And I'm like, you have to explain it in a sense where they understand it. Like you can't sit here and talk, explain the next topic now.
Yeah.
Like you've got to voice it, not out of a textbook, because the textbooks don't make any sense most of the time. Just like a bunch of unnecessary wording. I was like, break it down, like to a manageable, like step-by-step thing. And then people will grab it and click. And so it did and that was at the end of the semester. If it would have been prior, there's no telling what it would have turned into. Like, I mean, class presentations every
nobody
week.
will be listening to that prof anymore. And it's unfortunate because like a lot of professors and a lot of curriculum is based on the textbooks, and it doesn't give the message the way it should be given, like how you would be giving it, right? So sometimes learning things is a lot more effective when somebody's actually in it and being able to communicate it in that fashion, right?
For sure. Application makes a lot more sense than a theory.
Yeah. Now, for somebody who founded their first company in February, and then your second company in June, right? And then you get inducted into the Hall of Fame in May. So only 3 months after your very first company. How'd you get to that point? Like what happened in those 3 months that exploded so much that you got recognized and inducted?
I mean, we were different. Like the whole company was different than any other real estate company. And that's why we initially launched was, I was set out to do, complete my mission. And it was just to give people some type of relief, right? Give them a smile, take away some stress. And so we were different than every other real estate company because being involved with real estate for a while, I mean, anybody who's involved with that market knows that it's toxic. Yeah. I mean, it is just cutthroat all the time. And, we stood out, we were different, and our clients understood that we were different. They felt different through the whole process. And I stayed in my bubble. I mean, we sent out postcards and we got referrals and stuff like that. But it wasn't until I started building on myself rather than the company, we were really noticed. So back in March, right at beginning of April, actually, I started working on my personal brand and like looking at, okay, I'm the face of the company, but do people know me? And truth be told, they did it. So they had no idea why we were doing what we were doing. And there was always a bunch of questions about it. But then I established a personal brand and a brand for the company. And then people started to kind of notice we were there, and they saw us as like an authority almost in that redevelopment space. And, you know, we would have been there for what, 2 months? And we had this brand created in 2 months, and people knew what the mission was. People knew why we were doing it. People understood the outcome. And we started gaining more trust, more traction, more attention. Then bigger figures started kind of seeing who we were. Like my university, they reached out to me and they saw what we were doing, which is probably in, connection and correlation with the professors. But they still reached out and they found that trust. And they even tried to put me in this pilot program with the business school, which I was already in the business school, but they tried to put me in this pilot program with this new organization they were trying to start. And we got to the very end of that application process and I backed out because I was like, they're trying to put me on a timeline. And I don't like being put on timelines. Like, we're going to get you to 100,000, but it's going to take us 18 months. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, why does it have to take 18 months? Like, why can't we do it before? Like, well, we can't grow too fast. And when they said that, I was like, I'm out. No, because like it's me, it's not the money, but put a restriction on me, and then it affects, if there's no money coming in the company, there's no growth. We can't get to more people, right? I can't bring a smile to more people's face with less money. It costs money to do bigger events. It costs money to host the event. I mean, everything costs money.
Yeah.
And so from there, the Hall of Fame actually ended up getting in touch, and I applied with them. And there was a few other, I think there was a few hundred applicants. But after about a month, they ended up getting back to me, and it was me and two other people. And it came down to that branding. Mm-hmm. I mean, truthfully, that's what it came down to. And we were doing a lot, but it more or less was like what we were going after. Like they were more interested in the purpose of doing it and the success in that than they were the actual business. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people miss that. Is like, that's great if you're making millions and millions of dollars, right? But what are you doing it for? Is it just to make the money, or is there a purpose behind it? Mm-hmm. Because most of the time people don't care about how much money you're making. Most of the time it's, especially in a point of recognition, they're concerned about why you're doing it.
Right.
And so we kind of restructured. And at that point was when things really started to kind of move.
Wow. Well, congratulations on that. That must have been a thrilling experience.
Thank you.
Being able to get that recognition and accepting and being able to help so many other people because of that too. So all the best on that.
Well, thank you for sure.
So then how did that lead to the movies, screens and outdoor stuff?
So it was actually, I saw it on social media. I was on Instagram. I just got done doing a reel, and I was kind of going through the Discover page because somebody had sent me a message and said, hey, you just popped up on my Discover page on Instagram. I was like, oh yes, Instagram's working. But I went through and just went to go look through the Discover page to see what other content was out there with, on my algorithm. But I just see what it's trying to recommend to me. And there was this Instagram reel on this like family, and they had done this like backyard thing, but it was like super windy, and this screen was like blowing around everywhere, and it just looked like chaos. And I was like, oh, I haven't ever seen it before. And so I ended up like looking it up, and there was like nothing. I mean, there was no company really that was like specified in that field. There was a bunch of like equipment rental companies and stuff like that, like rent your tables and chairs, and while you're here, rent an inflatable screen. Mm-hmm. But there wasn't like a service that did that. And being in roles of leadership throughout high school and even in college, we were always trying to find the next event. Like, what are we going to do for our members, our students? Like, what are we going to do? And so I was like, okay, let's just look, right? I mean, like, it's not going to hurt. So I took that idea of just the inflatable screen, and a little further back, my background. So I worked for Chick-fil-A which is huge here in the US. I know in Canada, they're not really up there yet, but in the US, it's a huge company, and they have an amazing brand. And I was a director for them for 4, and I worked for them for 5. So I was very involved in their processes and everything, and I loved every second of it. But I wanted to basically create a service that was based off of their full service model. Like, book us, come to us and purchase our service, and you won't have to do anything. Because there wasn't that we are still, even after we launched, which it's only been a few months, but we are the only fully white glove service in the nation. And I would, under my breath say the entire world, because I haven't seen anything yet, but we do everything. And we use the #1 screens in the world, which nobody else really does because they're very expensive. But like, they don't blow around in the wind. So it looks phenomenal. Like, we can be to wind to like 23 miles an hour.
Oh, wow.
And those other, we call them China screens, but the China screens, like, they can't be anything over 8. I mean, it's like, it's crazy. But the events, the main goal was like to look and be the image, right? Like, to go there, set up, and then be like, wow, like the wow experience.
Yeah.
And that we did it. I mean, we phenomenal screens, phenomenal projection, phenomenal audio, and the clients love it because, just like a city we're working with right now, we have another event with them tomorrow. They left us a review and even sent us an email and a text message and was like, you have got a lifetime client, because previously we were having to rent all these different pieces. We were having to coordinate all these different crews to come set them up. We would have to maintain them. And with us, they don't have to do any of that. They just tell us, bring a 20-foot screen. There's going to be this many people there. This is what movie we want to show. We show up, we set up everything, we maintain everything, we serve popcorn, we serve drinks, we provide seating. And they just, like, that director in charge of this event, like, she sits there and she watches us, and she's like, oh, like, she just sits there, like, eating her popcorn and drinking her water. And she's like, I need to make an announcement in 15 minutes. I'm like, okay, we'll have the mic ready for you. And then she grabs the mic and she makes the announcement. We're starting the movie. We start the movie. The event's over with. Everybody leaves. She leaves. We pack up and leave. So, yeah. So the idea came from like an Instagram reel I found. Like, I just built upon it.
And then taking things from other companies and other systems and implementing it, and something like that is absolutely incredible. So also congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So where does it stop? What's the next big thing for you?
I couldn't tell you. I really don't know. I mean, we just scaled the entire state of Texas, so we are active in every market. We launched in Dallas-Fort Worth first, and my goal was by the end of next year to be in every market. But we started getting a lot of interest real quick, and I was like, you know what? Like, let's just do it now. And so we did. We launched statewide. So I would say next is getting to another state. I mean, which we already have a plan written up and financing ready to go. Actually, with the founders. Huge thanks to the founders, to scale to Colorado.
Wow.
Next summer. So eventually there's going to become a point where it's like, do we go international or do we stay, like, do we do it? Do we not? But I think right now that I don't have really a point of cutoff, because right now it just, everything is like, yes, let's just do it. Yes. And it's always just, they're big challenges, but I find it fun and fulfilling, and getting those pictures is just like, I mean, it's just so rewarding. Like, just seeing all the people with like the biggest smile on their faces and the kids running around. And it's like, nobody's like yelling at each other, and everybody's just smiling, sitting in their chairs and hanging out. And I would say there's dreams of starting other companies, but I mean, I'm perfectly fine right here. Like, I still get uncomfortable. I still have a lot of growing to do, And this is like the perfect company to do it with, because we still have the real estate and we still have this one. So, I mean, for right now, there is no limits.
Well,
But
you're already doing a lot of things that people are either scared of doing or have no knowledge of doing or have no finances to be able to do whatever you're doing. But like fears doesn't seem like an issue for you. The challenges doesn't seem like an issue to you. In fact, you kind of thrive on that challenge. So when you're facing these challenges, facing these so-called fears, what do you do to overcome them?
so, to be honest, I'm very impulsive. So this company, for example, I try to block out all of the problems that could arise. Like, I didn't realize, I might be just not smart enough in this industry to know this. There might be a lot of people that do know this, but I didn't realize that in a public space, you have to have a license for that movie. Um, and so we, at the beginning, first event, those web crawlers found the pictures from that event and they came after me and they were like,
Oh.
did you buy a license? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And, there was a hefty fine with that, but I could tell you I'll never do it again. But when it comes to like those other fears of like, is it going to make it or is it going to work? Yes, there's a fear, but it doesn't matter what you're doing. There's always some type of fear, especially in business, right? I mean, there's a ton of different fears in business. And it was actually after going to one of JT Fox's events where he was like, just do it. Stop waiting. Like, why are you waiting?
Mhm.
And as soon as I made that first bet on myself that like, just do it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You take what happened that didn't work and you adjust and you do it again. And I do have to just power through it if I do have a fear, but it's true. I mean, no matter what you do, there's always a fear. And you just have to learn to take it and go with it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And a lot of people are telling me, like recently, people have said, like, yeah, if it fails, you got to pay the price. And I'm like, yeah, paying the price of learning what I did wrong and capitalizing on it, like, sounds like a great price to pay, honestly, to me. Like, I mean, that's just what it is. And most of my fear in these companies stems from my investors, right? I mean, if they don't get paid back, like, I made a promise to them and I would hate to not pay them back, but we just paid back our first phase 117 days early.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was extremely fearful, especially with them being a part of the founders and JT being one of my coaches. I mean, I got a message from him. He was like, make sure they're paid back. And I'm like, yes, sir. I'll have them paid back. I promise. I didn't expect to have them paid back that early, but that fear is what, like, just every day I woke up and I was like, I have to get this paid back. This has to work. And so if something didn't work immediately, it was like total adjustment. Like, this didn't work. We got to think of something else. What's next? What's next? What's next? And I mean, it's a lot to answer that question, and it's kind of sporadic, but all of that has something to do with that on how I handle it, because I am a person that's all over the place all the time. It drives people nuts, but that's just who I am. I don't put on a face or anything. Like, I'm the same person every time. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, you just got to do it. I mean, if you don't do it now, you're never going to do it. There's never going to be a perfect day. There's never going to be a perfect time in the economy. And it's just like, do you have better scenarios and better situations at different times? Yes. But imagine how much you would strive in those times being established. Like, I mean, it's just like, if you, in the US economy, like, if you had launched a company back in like 2014, 2015, Like you would have gone to the moon in 2016, 2017, 2018. Like, I mean, there's no telling what would have happened if I had launched then.
Yeah.
But it's just, you just kind of got to suck it up and go for it. I mean, yeah, it's going to hurt, but not for long, right? I mean, if you feed off the fear, it won't hurt for that long.
Right. Now we also touched on this prior to recording here, and that is you mentioned that also you're all over the place, right? So how do you manage and balance from schooling to your movie business to your real estate business to all the other stuff that you're working on? How do you balance all that stuff? How do you recognize that, hey, I need to manage this energy and manage this time?
Yeah, I have my way, and I have to write down everything. Like, I mean, everything gets written down on a piece of paper. I always have one of those yellow notepads that are like 99 cents at Office Depot with me, and a pen. I always have a pen on me, and I write down everything. As soon as I think of something, I write it down. And so when I get to somewhere where I'm sitting, like if I get back to my office, the desk, or just somewhere to sit down, I look through it. And I never used Apple calendars before this because I thought it was just like, oh, I'll remember to do it whenever. Yeah. I mean, it's just going to stress me out more. But no, everything goes into that calendar now. And I mean, there's like 18 dots every day. I mean, it's I even track my travel time now because for me mentally, I have to, like, technology has to tell me, like, you have got to get on the road right now because where you're going is 18 minutes away. And if you don't get there in 18 minutes, then like you're going to be behind the rest of the day. And so it's kind of just, I have to keep myself accountable, and I have to have the discipline to cut off a conversation or anything like that just to stay on schedule. Cause I don't like being behind schedule. I usually cut it pretty close, but for me being all, I mean, it's just writing stuff down. Like, yeah, it's a little bit extra work, but you also just have to have the discipline to do it. Like,
Right.
I mean, half the stuff I do during the day, it's probably stuff I don't want to do, but I have to do it. So I write it down and I put in the schedule, and that makes me do it personally. But I know it's different for everybody. I mean, my roommates, for example, like their strategy on keeping it together is way different than mine. I mean, they're all over the place too. Not as bad as I am, but I think part of it's due to them not writing stuff down. I've told them that just write it down. Like, just, I mean, that's as simple as that. I mean, like 3 words just to tell you like something to do about it. That way you remember.
Yeah.
And they don't, but it's like, you know, we'll go home and nap for 6 hours. And I'm like, you slept for 12. Why do you
6
need,
hours?
you know, come on. Like, you know, so a lot of it's just people not realizing that they have so much time in the day. And thinking they're busy when they're not, right? Because it's going to interrupt their 4-hour nap time, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But they're just not organized. And for me, it's that organization. So
Now, I know you surround yourself with amazing people, coaches, mentors. If there was one thing that your coaches told you that completely blew your mind, what would that one thing be?
Probably that one right there. It was, you're not as busy as you think you are. And I'm like, you have no idea how busy I am. Like, yeah, you have no idea. And then that's me also waking up at like 10 in the morning, going to class, you know, sitting at campus for an hour and a half because I didn't want to drive, you know, to go run an errand and then go back because I don't want to lose my parking spot, you know, and then going home and just like, you know, doing something that I needed to do, and being like, oh, you know, it's 5 o'clock. I mean, end of work day, you know. But it was that just, you're not as busy as you think you are. And realizing that, because I started writing stuff down.
Yeah.
And so I got me like one of those calendars from Office Depot, actually. And it's broken down every day from 6 to 10:30, 6 a.m. to 10:30 p.m.
Wow.
And they told me, like, at the very beginning, like, go get one of those calendars and Start your day at 6 and just write down the things that you would normally do in correspondence, how much time it would take, but do it line to line to line. Like, don't break it up to when you think you're going to do it. Just write all of it down. I'm not kidding you. Back then, I thought I was so busy and I was stressed out because I thought I was that busy. Whenever I wrote it down, I was done with everything that I had for the day by like 9:30.
All the space. Look at all that.
I know.
space stuff.
I was like, what am I going to do with all this time? And so that's kind of where the companies started, because I had to find something to fill the time. And that's where like the development of the company started. So it was for sure that you don't have as much time as you think, like, or you have more time than you think you do. And the just do it now, there's never a perfect time. And it sounds so cliche, but it's so true.
Now, with all that time, you filled it in with your businesses, but you also filled it in with your podcast. Tell us more about that.
So we actually officially launched yesterday. I was so excited when I got that text message. But what inspired the name of it was actually the speech last Friday. That's how, see what I'm saying, how fast we move. The name of it hit Friday, and then just that like fire to start it was last Wednesday. So 9 days ago was when that started.
Wow.
I was like, I have to start a podcast. Like, I have got to get this information out of me before I like explode.
Yeah.
And I called Lisa and I was like, listen, we've got to get a podcast going. And she was like, well, how fast do you want it? And I said, I want it like next week. Like, I want it now. She's like, okay. Sounds great. Think of a name. And I was like, okay. And so I went and spoke at that event last week, a week ago today. And I realized, you know, in business, especially, just in life in general, I think mindset's a huge part of it, right? I mean, if your mindset sucks, then you're not going to do anything. Because I was there. But from what I started talking about on stage, like I had a script, I had what I was going to talk about for the day, but at random points, I would kind of just go on this almost like a rant, like all in frustration at these people for some reason. And I'd never met these people. They never did anything to me, but it frustrated me for some reason, those topics. And they were just like the topics of mindset. But I took it back to beginning of college, into high school, and I realized, especially with that audience, there's something before mindset, and there's what I call it a mind space. Because if your mindset sucks, it's not just a flick of a switch. Like, you just have to do it now, right? You know, you just got to go out and do it. There's never a perfect time. You can't just flip that switch and just start doing something. There is like if you dial it, but I started doing social experiments. And if you dial it down, there's this like extra stage over here. And like, it's a different mind space that kind of leads up to where you want your mindset to be, what you want it to be, what you're trying to achieve. And that mind space is like all of your emotions, like that anxiety, that jealousy, the, you know, sadness, and all those different emotions. And if you break it down, most people, 92% of people out of the 600 that we did the social experiment on answered. We gave them 7 different emotions that they feel is preventing them from achieving what they want. Take a wild guess what 92% of the 600 said.
That prevent them from doing what they want? Fear?
Jealousy.
Oh, jealousy. Wow.
Which I would have never thought, ever. I would think it would be fear. And it came out to be jealousy. But what I started interviewing the people and asking them, like, why does jealousy stop you? And guess what it goes to? Fear. They're not doing something because they're jealous, but really what it is it does dial down to fear. But the jealousy is affecting that because they can't fail, because if they fail, that person they're jealous of is going to see it. And then now they look lesser. So the podcast is called Mindspace Talk. and like resolving those emotions so that we can get them to that point, or get the viewers and listeners to that point of being able to adjust that mindset. Because I went through it at the beginning of my whole thing too. Like, and I knew that's what I wanted to find something to do with. Like, I knew that pain that I went through at the beginning last year, before I started the real estate company, even trying to find that drive and passion in something dialed down to like a mind space. And I heard mindset for the first time in March with JT.
Wow.
He's like, you've got to fix your mindset. And I'm like, dude, you don't understand. Like, there are so many things going on up here. Like, it's making me like my anxiety shot through the roof. I was like, I'm fearful. I don't want to fail. I'm jealous of other people. I don't want them to see me and be like, oh, wow, look at him trying to be all big and tall and he just fell,
Yeah.
Treat you right. So that's what I was just constantly thinking about. And I started working with people, like subconsciously, just talking to people. And I've always been a person, looking back in high school and even college, where people would come talk to me. And I mean, they would give me all their problems. And I always had a response though. And it was most of the time, my response was impulsive. Like, I didn't even know what I was saying, but I would just say it because I had confidence I was giving the right thing to do. And the ones who listened, within the matter of like weeks, completely different person. And I was like, but what does it have to do with? That's why I did the social experiments and then everything else. And it turned out to be that. Wow. So that's what the podcast is, is that not a beginner level, but even people with the right mindset now, like, they have all these emotions too. And if you can find a way to manage them, man, does it change your life? Like, it makes you unstoppable almost.
Very, very cool. Well, congratulations on that launch. It sounds like I'm congratulating you on a lot of things that you're doing.
But thank you.
Obviously, somebody who is very, very motivated and does a lot of things fast and takes action quick. And you're very, very successful because of that. So that is absolutely awesome. Now, I have one final formal question for you. And that is, I put you on the big stage. The entire world gets to hear something from Wade. What's that one message you want the entire world to remember Wade for?
I would take it back to the mind space thing. Because talking to people, executing these events, right, and building these companies and bringing that smile, like the movie company, right, creating moments of joy that are cherished for a lifetime, is everything that company is based on. That's the mission of the company. Is very fulfilling, and I love doing it. But overall, like, if there was one message I could send out, it would be like, let's work on your mind space. Like, let's figure out what your emotions are. And the moral of that message would just be, stop caring what other people are thinking. Stop letting other people set boundaries for yourself, because people try to do that to me. And looking back on it now, it's so frustrating because I believed in myself, but there's other people that didn't. Were like, no, you're not ready for that. You're only 19. And finally, like I said, worked on that mind space and got rid of all those. So it's just stop caring what other people think about you as a person. Go do what you're supposed to go out and do. Like, where your fulfillment is, go do it. Stop living on somebody else's timeline and go execute your mission. Like, just go do it. Like, I can't emphasize that enough. That's like literally what the first podcast episode is talking about that. Like, just stop trying to please other people. Like, because there are so many people out there right now, they're like, are depending on you and they're waiting for you, and you're not doing it because somebody else told you can't, or you don't want to disappoint somebody. Well, the only way you can prove them is to go do it. So that's what it would be. I know it's kind of super on the, ground level, but hey, really, if you dig it down to the roots, that right there is just like, if you sit on it and think about it, there's things that we all do every day that is preventing that growth because of that one thing right there. It's crazy.
Awesome. Well, great words to live by, and I hope everybody remembers that. Great message as well. Now, this time has gone by very fast. I learned a lot about you and I got to learn a lot of things about myself as well. So thank you very much for all your stories and all your nuggets of wisdom that you've been sharing. But before I let you go, I got a few quick questions for you. Give me the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
So you're stranded on the desert island. You get to eat one food for the rest of your life, no consequence. What would that be?
First thing in mind was any type of meat, preferably steak.
Nice. We there's a talent show. You're on stage. What is one talent that not many people know that you are willing to perform?
I did this every talent show when I was in standard school. It's actually miming and acting.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Gotta see that sometime.
Yeah, maybe. I don't bring it out much anymore.
Hollywood calls and says, you know what? We love your story. We would love to do a biopic on you. You get to choose who plays you.
Oh, jeez. There's people that say I look like a certain actor, but I would for sure say I would love to see Zac Efron do that 100%.
So Zac Efron shows up at your door and goes, hey, I got casted to play you. Let's hang out. Let's do something fun. What would you take him out to have fun with?
Oh my, I don't know if I would even be able to, because I would lose it. I would have to say I have an obsession with golf. So probably 100% like Top Golf. Like, let's just go hang and like, hit a few and just talk, like, because that's all I would want to do anyways.
Awesome. Give me numbers from 1 to 5.
4.
1, 2, 3, 4. So how is success similar to guitar?
How is success similar to guitar? Oh, here we go. I got one. So as you're playing a chord, right? As you're playing the guitar, right, you're hitting different chords.
Mm-hmm.
And the chords have to line up to make the best perfect sound, and they have to be in tune. So if there's something in the business or something in your life that isn't tuned properly and out of line a little bit, you make minor adjustments. You don't, whenever tuning a guitar, you don't ever, just sit there and spin it. Just make a fine adjustment and play it, see how it goes. If it still doesn't work, tune it a little bit more. And if you miss the chord up, if you misplace, or if you play the chord slightly incorrect, right? If you miss a strum, it's okay, right? Because most of the time you can play it off. So just make the fine adjustments. And then if you keep trying, you'll eventually get it.
Nicely done. That is how success is like a guitar. Well, once again, thank you very much for all your time, all your stories, all your wisdom. Is there anything else you would like to share?
You want to get in touch, message me on social media. I respond to all my messages. So I would love to meet anybody out there that listened and have a conversation with you.
Awesome. Well, make sure you reach out to Wade, find his Instagram, find his Facebook, all that great stuff, and also check out his podcast. It sounds like it's going to be amazing, and I can't wait to listen to more of those as well. Once again, thank you very much for your time. For everybody else, he is Wade. My name is Fong. Until next time. Today is the day to lock your peak potential. We'll see you later.